What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with another fantastic episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. Okay, so I understand that a lot of people right now are really angry and really confused on what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. Usually I would say, oh, these people are stupid, they're overreacting, there's nothing bad happening, but for this, it's a little scary. And I could use the old Democrat talking point and claim that the stock market has nothing to do with the economy and everything's going to be fine. Just quit worrying about the stock market. But it's not really good when you look at it and you see red all the time. That's not something that makes you feel good. And trust me, I want everything to be fine, but I am scared that Donald Trump is playing a very risky game when it comes to these different tariffs. Now, Donald Trump has been talking about tariffs for a very, very long time, even before he started running for president in 2016. And this clip right here, even before Donald Trump took the escalator down in 2016, explains why Donald Trump wants to put tariffs on these different countries, including our allies.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Trump and other Republicans believe that we are getting ripped off by these different trade deals. With these different tariffs that are going into effect soon, Donald Trump is trying to even the playing field. And he is telling these other countries that it is time to pay their fair share. And Donald Trump made this very clear in his Rose Garden speech, where he said, "For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friends and foe alike." So the question is, how is Donald Trump going to do this? How is Trump going to make trade more free and more fair for each individual countries? Well, by using reciprocal tariffs. And I believe that Donald Trump described it the best when he said, "I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them no more, no less, frankly." And all of this seems to be fair. A country pays 10%, we will also pay 10%. Why would we want to lose money in an unfair deal where we are going to pay 10% to get a product into our country, but the other country is only paying 2%? That doesn't seem very fair, and it seems like we're getting ripped off like Donald Trump has been talking about for a very long time. DW.com made a very good example about this, talking about India. As the site claims, India levies tariffs that are typically between 5% and 20% higher than the US on 87% of their imported goods. So we are paying more to get our products into India than India is paying for their products to get into our country. That's not fair. That doesn't make sense. And that isn't free trade. That's getting ripped off right in front of our eyes. I mean, look at this chart right here. All of these other countries have high tariffs that the US has to pay, but we only charge 2.4 to 2.5%, and sometimes we even charge 0%. Listen, I understand that there's a lot of confusion right now. There's a lot of chaos going on social media. People posting pictures about how terrible their stocks are. Their 401k is going down, and all of that isn't a good thing. But I hope that that little section will really help you understand what's happening. Why is Donald Trump doing this? Will it be effective? We don't know yet, but we have to try something to try and make sure that our trade is better and we can get more money from these different countries. Now, two things can happen with this situation. A country will get mad at us and decide to put more tariffs on us because we put tariffs on them, so they retaliate. And we are seeing this right now with China, as China was the country that got the most angry, as they were the ones that got the most effect by these different tariffs, as the Trump administration has smacked them with a 54% tariff. So China came back and is now putting a 34% tariff on all US imports. Now, this can cause a lot of problems. We get a lot of rare earth minerals from China, and if we have to pay huge prices for those minerals, we might have to stop and get them from somewhere else, and who's going to trade with us? And companies like Apple might have trouble making the iPhone, which will make the cost of the iPhone go up. Companies like Shein and Temu might have to raise their prices. Companies like Shein and Temu might have to raise their prices to compete with other competitors in the market. And overall, with all of these different tariffs against all of these different countries, prices could go up, leading to an inflationary spiral like we saw during COVID. Now, this doesn't mean that we should knock down these tariffs or stop what we're doing. This means that Donald Trump better get on the phone and try and negotiate different deals with these different countries so then we don't fall into this high pricing, high inflation situation. Because here's the thing about tariffs. They are a tax on different products that we, the American people, have to pay for. So if the tariffs are too high, it comes back on us, the consumer. On the flip side, another thing that can happen is that other nations are going to come to Donald Trump and beg him to stop these different tariffs. And when they call Donald Trump, they can ask for a better deal, which will improve trade between both countries. And the interesting thing about these tariffs is that it puts the United States in the driver's seat. You can see that countries are coming to us and begging us to stop the tariffs, not the other way around. We have already seen this happen with both Mexico and Canada, as Trump threatened both countries with tariffs if they didn't send troops to the border and help with the fentanyl crisis and the illegal immigration crisis. After a few talks, both Mexico and Canada agreed and helped Donald Trump at the border. And now, according to Reuters, 50 countries are calling Donald Trump and asking him to do a better deal with them. Taiwan's president offered zero tariffs as the basis for talks with the United States, pledging to remove trade barriers and saying Taiwanese companies will raise their U.S. investments. That's a good thing. The Indian government claimed that they won't retaliate and they will speak with Trump. Israel is talking. I believe that Netanyahu came to the White House recently to talk to Donald Trump about these different tariffs. That's a good thing. The European Union is even claiming that they want to have zero tariffs with the United States. That's a good thing. Vietnam is planning on removing all of their tariffs on U.S. imports if Trump either stops the tariffs or lowers them. And so while some countries might be angry at us for putting these different tariffs on, a lot of other countries are saying, we cannot lose the United States. We cannot use the world's biggest consumer. Let's try and make a deal and make Donald Trump happy so then both of our countries can be successful. Tariffs are a very delicate game that can be a little bit scary to play because tariffs have had a long history in the United States of America. And sometimes it turned out to be a great big boom in the economy, and sometimes it turned to a big fat bust in the economy. America was literally built on tariffs, as the second bill that George Washington signed was the Tariff Act of 1789. And until the income tax came in, tariffs were the only way that the United States could make any money at all. So they had to have either high tariffs or tariffs in general. And as time went on in the United States, tariffs were a way to protect different businesses like factories and other industrial industries. As at the time, Congressman and later President William McKinley said in a statement, "Free foreign trade gives our money, our manufacturers, and our markets to other nations, to the injury of our labor, our tradespeople, and our farmers. Protection keeps money, markets, and manufacturers at home for the benefit of our own people." Trump also pointed to this age in politics in his Rose Garden speech announcing these different tariffs, claiming that back during this time period, the United States had so much money that we had to create a commission to figure out what we were going to do with all that money. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. Back in the times of William McKinley and also Teddy Roosevelt, the economy was good. McKinley saw rapid economic growth, and that was basically because of his tariff policy. Here's the problem though. The United States economy back in the day was a lot smaller. We weren't a world superpower back then. And this was also before the income tax, so people didn't have to pay so many taxes. All that they had to pay was a tariff. And right now in our timeline, Americans have to pay a lot of taxes, and adding a tariff tax on top of that could hurt Americans a lot. Now, in my opinion, I believe that Donald Trump should have done this in total reverse. I think he should have cut taxes first, which is going through the House and the Senate right now, and then propose these different tariffs. That way there wasn't a huge freak out from the American people causing the stock market to crash. Also, we have to remember that even though William McKinley is one of my favorite presidents, he wasn't perfect, as William McKinley was responsible for the McKinley Tariff, which was a law that was passed in the Benjamin Harrison administration, which raised tariffs up to 50%. And this situation could be predicting what we are going through right now, as this tariff was not popular at all, because it raised consumer prices on goods, and once this bill was passed, the stock market crashed, falling from its peak of 99.14 on May 17th, 1890, to a low of 76.77 on December 8th, 1890. That should sound familiar because we are seeing the exact same thing happen right now with our stock market because of these different tariffs and different fears. Yes, I do believe that the stock market will rebound like it always does. And right now we are just going through a tough time, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now in what's going to happen next with these different tariffs. But still, like I've said before, it's not a very good thing to look at a chart and see red everywhere. It's bad. This tariff was so unpopular that Republicans lost control of the Congress in 1890, and a Democrat, Grover Cleveland, came in and lowered all of these different tariffs. Could this situation right here be predicting our future? Or could we have what we had in the McKinley presidency with high economic growth and everyone being happy? Again, there are situations where tariffs have helped the United States of America, and there are situations where tariffs have hurt us. Warren G. Harding entered the White House with an economic crisis on his hands, and he had a plan to fix it. Sounding a lot like Donald Trump, Harding did a joint session of Congress where he called for reducing taxes and cutting spending and a return to protectionism, claiming, "I believe in the protection of American industry and it is our purpose to prosper. America first." This guy was basically Donald Trump. He wanted a DOGE. He wanted more tariffs. So how did that work out? This led to the emergency tariff of 1921, and also the Ford-Ney-McCumber tariff. The Republican campaign textbook, which was released in 1924, called the Ford-Ney-McCumber tariff the greatest revenue-producing tariff ever enacted. It created the Roaring '20s, and everything looked fantastic in the economy. We had great money, people were spending money, and people were buying different items. Everything seemed bright. However, all things weren't perfect, as some people blamed these two different tariffs for causing the Great Depression. And it also didn't help when Herbert Hoover was president and the Depression already started that he signed a tariff which led to more economic hurt on the consumers, which made the Great Depression even worse than it already was. Now, tariffs don't necessarily cause depressions or economic declines. But what seems to happen is that a United States president will propose a tariff, and all of a sudden, the economy will just skyrocket, and we will get lots of money. And so he says, "Wow, that's incredible, let's put more tariffs on." If we raise tariffs or put more tariffs on, then we're going to get more money like we've already had. This makes countries very upset, which then other countries start to retaliate against the United States, which in turn will hurt trade revenue and also hurts the American economy, causing economic hardships like depressions and recessions and other things. It will honestly be interesting to see what will happen next. Will more countries come over to the United States and beg and plead with us to get rid of our tariffs? Will more countries say, "We're not going to even talk to the United States anymore because they put this tariff on us"? Will we experience an economic boom or an economic crash? Right now, we don't know, and we just have to wait and see. My advice is to stay calm and buy the dip. And maybe, just maybe, Donald Trump is right, and this is the only way that we can fix our economy and prosper. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.